Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so sorry it was such a wait. I got sick twice while making this project, and I am now getting over a cold. So like the second I got all the filming ready to be edited, I came down sick with a fever from getting caught in the rain. Getting into the basis of this video, I got a really awesome opportunity from All Star Press in Chicago to be a part of a skateboard show and with so many awesome different artists, and I had a very big idea for my skateboard. When I was thinking about this, I knew I wanted to try to go away from my comfort zone. So a lot of my paintings are always portraits. As you can see, it's just portrait, 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 face, face, face. I actually really love drawing and painting faces, but I don't want to pigeonhole myself a little bit too much, and I also have love for painting animals in some sense. I had some old sketches of snakes that I really liked, and I thought it would be nice to try to experiment and see if I could try to paint a snake. I hadn't painted one in a really long time. There's a painting that I absolutely scratched about 2 years ago that had full of snakes actually, and I really sad I didn't get to like expand upon that painting because I just gave up on it like all great artists do. And so I started off with a very quick sketch, kind of just laying out the composition, and then I took that sketch into Procreate. And Procreate is really nice because it allows you to really kind of experiment. I've been kind of adding it into my workflow a little bit more, and I'm finding that I really enjoy it because I can take the measurements of a canvas and then just kind of draw onto the iPad instead of like drawing straight onto the canvas, and it kind of saves me a lot of time, especially because I'm a really indecisive person, mainly because I draw very intuitively. So most of the time my paintings, they have like a rough base, but I'm not married to any idea. Like my creative process very much is intuitive, so I really don't know where I will land until I start actually creating and painting and stuff. So this was really nice to see this. I came up with several different versions of the sketch. Once I decided on the design, I then forced myself, keyword is forced, I forced myself to make several different color comps. I think this is important because one thing I learned through my own creative process is I got to know myself and my creativity better. My first idea is usually not always my best, so I always try to make sure that while staying on the same plane and basis of it, I do try to expand out. Sometimes my first idea is my best idea. In this case, it was. I ended up going with the original color comp, but it's always good, I think, for me, especially someone who finds the flow as I go, to really experiment more. And the best thing about working on an iPad is that it allows me to experiment more freely with less effort put in, which is wonderful because I can finally do all of this stuff without really the painstaking aspect of it going away in the end. But yeah, hopefully it'll be a good process video. This is the first time I was really filming everything from start to finish. Fair warning, I will be in pajamas in a lot of these clips. I like to make things when I am most comfortable, and unfortunately for a lot of y'all, my most comfortable is barefoot and in pajamas. But yeah, I hope you enjoy it. So jumping straight into it, so I got these blank skate decks from Amazon for fairly cheap. I will put a plug in that I learned after the fact. You can actually easily find refurbished, recycled blank skate decks. I think that would have been cool for this, but I did not learn that until after the fact of this process. So my first step is really just coating this in gesso. So wood can rot really easily, especially with oil paints, and I just wanted to make sure that did not happen to this precious skateboard that I was putting all my hopes into. So I am making sure I double layer, I think I triple layered this actually with gesso. I gave it a good look-see, made sure it was well coated, and I set it aside. My next step was to project my sketch onto the skateboard. So my Procreate sketch was created to the exact measurements of the skateboard, and I did this so it would make sure the proportions were correct and it would go faster and I could really see like my full vision that I wanted. And it took me a crazy long time to get this exact like measurement onto the skateboard, but we got there eventually, you know, that's all that mattered. And from there, I took like a blue colored pencil to like lightly trace the outline of the snakes and everything that we wanted onto here. This was really nice because I was able to make sure all the proportions were correct. And I know personally, when I freehand things, I sometimes have a problem with enlarging certain aspects. Tends to be like the things I'm like hyper focusing on that always come out bigger. But this way, I'm like keeping myself nice and restrained so I can get those beautiful proportions that I envisioned. So as you can see here, once I finished like tracing the proportions out, I did not get all the detail. So I went back in with the blue colored pencil and just freehanded the details. This part's easier to me than just like trying to tiny trace over that projector. I have terrible vision in the dark, so I was like, you know what, I can just redo this once I get everything kind of mapped out. So I just really like get in there and recreate all those details. I have my reference open next to me so I don't forget what's where. But this allows me to really dive into deep in the details that the sketch really didn't get into. And this is the more intuitive part of my process, I would say. My sketches are always detailed, but they are not hyper detailed in the way that my paintings are, and the way that I can go in and do this makes it really nice. So this next part is an absolute fail. I debated on keeping this in, but I figured, you know what, you guys will get the whole process of this. This entire skateboard had me press the Alt-Z, Control-Z, whatever the hell it is, honestly, on the skateboard a couple times. So despite I think there's like some misconstruction, I do not work with wood. My extra pieces on my canvases, like the one you see in the back, are made from like cardboard and glue and canvas, and it's more of a paper mache type of thing than it is really a wood thing. I always wanted to like get into wood, which is why I decided that the skateboard would kind of be my segue into it. However, I am an absolute dummy sometimes, and I just sometimes just run on pure audacity. I truly did fail at this. I tried to use this Dremel piece to cut the wood. I got the piece that said wood cutting. However, this did not actually cut the wood. I tried several times. This thing smoked up on me. I researched it. It smoked up on me again. It was just not moving. I didn't know what I did wrong, if it was my technique. I tried it several which other ways, but it was not right. So this was a fail on many parts of my life right here. I felt so stupid staring at the skateboard, and I was a little bit stressed now because I was like, oh, this is totally not what I anticipated. But then coming in to save the day is a scroll saw. Yay, scroll saw, I love you. So I decided after my Dremel did not work to really investigate into wood cutting and woodworking. And I got this really cheap at a nice family-owned supply store around in Chicago. I forgot the name of the store. It was I went to Home Depot, and these are about like 200, 300 a pop pretty easily. And this one was $80, and I figured it was worth the investment, especially if I wanted to get into woodworking more. So I went ahead and like bit the bullet on the cash, and it was a pretty good deal, to be honest. And this cut the board so much better, so much faster, so much cleaner, that I really felt silly for not actually thinking about this more. I'd already owned the Dremel, so I was like, oh, this should work. But no, this was definitely better. So this next part is when I put my poor little cast-aside Dremel to use. This is something that was not planned, but I thought it would be nice to really kind of engrave certain parts of the skateboard. I really liked the effect that this gave. It kind of breathed the snake to life and make sure it was the centerpiece of the whole skateboard. And it was also really fun. I think I will definitely be looking into woodworking more. For this next step, I took tracing paper and overlaid it onto my skateboard to really get the shape of the flower. I wanted to make the flowers be 3D pieces for this skateboard, but in order to do that, I needed to make sure it aligned well. This was something that I also just decided on the last moment. This is not part of the plan, but I was like, you know what? I love 3D pieces. So this project turned from a regular skateboard to a 3D skateboard. Now I'm just gessoing each individual pedal that I have decided to cut out. If you check in closely on the skateboard on the side, you can tell it got far more detailed than where it was before, and this was just me making sure I hash out those details as I go. I paint entirely from my imagination for the most part on this piece. And here I am, happy, everything's glued down with wood glue. I have glazed it with a thin layer of burnt umber, and I'm so happy and ready to go on this, but the struggle is not over. My original intention was to make this entirely out of oil paint, but as I started painting this, I then soon realized that that was a terrible, terrible idea. Despite me loving my oil paints, I will admit that there are things that acrylic is just better for, and that is one thing is drying time. I only had a couple weeks to finish this, and with the way that this was looking, it was not looking like oil paint was my best bet. So I decided to entirely paint this thing, think it's a bad idea, and Control Z later. Luckily for me, I had a lot of paint thinner available. I used the regular Gamsol and some rags just to wipe this all off. It was pretty easy to come off since the oil paint was drastically so undry. It basically like melted off. It did take me maybe a couple episodes of Bridgerton to really wipe this clean, but it ultimately ended up being like a new clean slate, like the mistake had never happened. I remixed all my colors in acrylic and decided that a good acrylic base will be good, and I can always go back in with oil paint for details if I wanted to. I did also find myself frustrated at this point as well because I was like, oh my god, I forgot how thin acrylics are. I entirely am so used to painting like a la prima in oil paint that I forgot how many layers it really kind of takes to get a nice opaque layer of acrylic paint. But I was able to get through this and power through it, and I learned a lot through this process. And that about wraps up the technical aspect of how I came to make this piece. All I have left now are painting clips, so I hope you sit back and relax and enjoy watching this piece come to life. As I was doing these scales, I realized that this is one of the reasons I absolutely love painting. It's very meditative and allows you to really get into your own headspace and appreciate for finer details. These scales took me a really long time, longer than I thought I would, honestly, but I really enjoyed each step, really going slow and taking my time to make sure each one popped out in a different way. I really love this part, and this is truly one of the joys of painting and why I always say that anyone can be an artist and everyone should be an artist because it really does like give you a nice meditative state. So far I am now alright with where the skateboard is. I think I definitely need one more day on it. The drop off is officially in a week, so I needed to be done with it yesterday. So I'm really praying that the drying time works out. But right now I am going to work on the tassels that were in my original design. So I just bought some thread from, really cheap thread from Michael's, and I'm about to make the tassels that were going to go like directly down here, 3 of them. I think that'll like wrap up the skateboard very, very nicely. I have some gold clips that you can't really see, but I usually wear them in my braids, so now I'm gonna put them on the skateboard. So it'll be fun. Great. Here's all 3 tassels. I might in the future make some earrings out of these. These are much easier and cheaper to make than I thought they would be, but it works. Alright, so it is the next day. Probably can't tell because I'm always in the same sweats. But I have my tassels all ready to go, all 3 of them. So super excited. I have our drill here. Now recognize I don't know how to use a drill. I will probably be tinkering with this and hopefully not cutting off my hand. 1 hour later. After adding all the tassels, this is officially done. Here is the final product. I want to say thank you guys so much for watching this whole video, and thank you for sticking around. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment if you really enjoyed this. If you're also interested in purchasing this skate deck, the link is below for the website of the gallery. So have a great rest of your days, and I'll see you next time.